Community Beacon, Fridays at 6:30 EST, with your hosts Michaeldseville and Joel Simmons. A channel whose focus is liberty. A place where the lessons discussed and taught will create openings to a more open and freer mindset. A mindset where you may reach the height of your potential and excel. Here are your hosts, Mike and Joel.
It's absolutely, positively good to see you, brother. How are we doing on that side?
Man, fantastic, bro. Fantastic. It's good to see you. I love it when you wear the jacket. I love when you wear the jacket.
It's gotta bring the jacket back in this 90+ degree weather. You got to have the jacket on, setting the tone. And we can talk about the jacket as well and just setting tones, etc. I know we have an awesome show planned with you and I getting together, having these awesome conversations. Prior to that, let me see. We already got you clicked the button. Guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe, comment as I do a little bit of housekeeping. We are here each and every Friday, 6:30. I'm going to repeat that, but just want to make sure that you like, share, comment, subscribe. We love to get the engagement. We love to hear what exactly it is that you have to say and what you are excited and talking about as it relates to the show. Remember, on Mondays, guys, I do a show, a little old show. They said be careful with your words. I do a show, What It Takes, each and every Monday. Last Monday was interesting. I talked about the averages and the medians, and specifically in real estate. And if you really go back and watch that show, you'll realize that there's a lot of fear mongering going on. Meanwhile, everybody is moving forward. So I want you to make sure that you go back and check out What It Takes, where I talk about the average and median and the sale prices, etc. Guys, remember, every Wednesday at 12:30, my brother Joel and the Tenacity Foundation drop a show. It starts with who, brother?
It starts with me, y'all. It all starts with me. And when it comes down to it, it always starts with yourself. So this program's been going on. This is the second season. We completed last year, and we're in the second season, halfway through it. It's been a blast. Shout out to Jomer. Really appreciate him, for what he does and the magic of the episodes, because they're all really beautifully knit together. So they're very interesting. But also to all of our guests that come from across the nation, and some of them from across the world, and the kinsmanship that has been developed with some of these people. I mean, Mike, you were there when we were doing the Communicate Now program. We had you there, and we had some of our guests, and they've showed up in Zooms while they were traveling in different countries to be there for these young people in Riviera Beach. And that is the beauty of networking and connection, true connection. True connection. Absolutely. So I love that. So wherever you are, as much as it starts with me, remember it starts with you.
Absolutely. And we also, Male Perspective, guys, check that show out. That show drops every Tuesday, sometime in the middle of the morning. I know I wake up and it shows up on YouTube. So check out Male Perspective. I do that with at Podcast Plus, where I'm on a panel. We bring in a bunch of different guys that talk about all kinds of things that are going on within the community. So make sure you catch that. And of course, we culminate the week with UNITY Beacon. There's the Male Perspective. Check it out Tuesdays on YouTube. And once again, back to what we're here for. UNITY. Ain't that something? Beacon. And we appreciate you all checking us out.
Unity, huh?
Friday at 6:30. Remember the Queen Latifah song, UNITY?
UNITY.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. And really, that's what it's all about. I don't know who said it, but I know it's from a movie or a show or something where they say these 5 fingers, they can't do much on their own, but when you put them together, and you come together with it, it makes a powerful force that your fist. So
powerful force.
So we appreciate you guys. I want to jump into it because prior to the show, and I said, let's just start the show. We were kind of talking about an entrepreneurial journeys. And I think the brother had a metaphor that was so well with the journey. I want him to continue with it, brother, as you were talking a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey and how you've turned it up in the last couple of years.
Yeah, man. Well, I definitely appreciate that, and I guess for just a moment, I take a deep breath and just enter back into that behind the stage type of thing, where it's not really about the recording anymore. But yeah, I mean, but that's like what it was all about. You know what I mean? It was like, so just, I guess, a little background history for everybody else. I became an entrepreneur almost 20 years ago. I'm approaching. I'm like right there around 18 years now. So that's close enough to say almost 20. So just under 20 years. And, I did that without any guidance. I did it without any guidance, without any know-how, without any knowledge. And I managed to make all of my investment back. Like, there's 5 things that you really need to know about before you start a business, right? And I'll give them to you real quick. 5 things that you want to know about. Number 1, you want to know about what's my investment. How much money is it going to take for me to be able to do whatever it is that I desire to do? 2, how much time is it going to take for me to be able to move, learn, gain? How much time do I have to dedicate? Do I need to take time away from my family, from my friends, from the job that I'm already working? 3, knowledge. How much knowledge do I need to know? What do I have to know to become successful? And that's about the industry that I'm in. It's also about business and finance, right? And then 4 is like the need. Is there actually a dramatic need for whatever I'm about to do? Because if there isn't, then there's a good chance I'll be spinning my wheels for a really long time. And 5, the risk. What kind of risk is there? Am I risk averse? Am I risk tolerant? What am I? What kind of risk? Because most businesses don't last 2 years. So you need to know those 5 different things. And I just want to put that out there real quick so that people can understand it. And so, like 18 years ago, when I'm thinking about this, when I'm going through this, it's like I had no idea about any of that stuff at all. Just like most people who become entrepreneurs have no clue about any of that stuff. I don't even think it's written in a book in that way, so you all really should take that note down and keep it. But, I just decided, I'm become a CPR instructor, and I had no idea how much money I was going to spend. So I just kept spending the money. They're like, you need this, get it. You need this, get it. And because I had a job, I just paid for all those different things. I had no idea how much time I would need to give. And I actually was running around doing a bunch of classes. Like, I just got hit for a class. And if you're watching this show and you're the person who just asked me to do your class, then I'll give you a call back a little bit later on today. But it's like I'm running 15, 20 miles to somebody's house to do one class, and then I met Mike. Now, I have been doing this for over a decade. I've been doing this, right? Running all over the state, making $50, and I'm spending my gas and I'm paying for, whatever the supplies are. And I got to teach time and I got to come home time. I'm like making $50, $100. And thank God I was smart enough to realize that it was better for me to find businesses than to do these one-on-one classes for the same price that I was charging the business. So I had to change some things. And then Mike, he comes along and he has a mentor. So Mike goes from being an employee to being mentored by an extremely successful entrepreneur. And he starts to tell me this stuff like, bro, I'm just saying, you got to know what you're worth. And I know you, and your value is important. And finally he says to me, how much is it worth for you to get out of the bed in the middle of the night to go and teach a class? And I was like, $50 is not enough. It's not. What have I been doing? Oh, man.
Let me put some stats, because I remember when you said something, and then we'll get back to this, because I'm gonna give them the real story. Is when you mentioned that the businesses that the businesses that go out of business, right? You said there's a high percentage of when we start talking about risk. Listen to this: 20% of white-owned businesses, they fail within the first 12 months. 80% of Black-owned businesses fail within 18 months. Now, when you go to your 5 different,
pull that up, bro. Can you put that on the screen?
It's on my phone, so I can't. I wish I could, but I'll
send it to me in a text. Put it to me in a text.
I'll try to. So. And then you put up these factors, these things that you need to know that you have listed to go into business. And each one of these can be a show within themselves, because all of them are very important. Money is probably one of the biggest reasons. Most businesses are undercapitalized. They don't have enough capital to withstand business. We go into it thinking we're going to need $10,000, and what you really needed was probably $40,000. Because with $10,000, you probably were shoestringing it. And what you don't take into consideration is the stress. Everything can go pretty much correct, but the stress level also can mess up your money. The time is also important as well. When do I do this? Some people are working jobs and they're entrepreneurs. So what time do you have to do with that? How much time is it going to take you towards your business? So that also has to do with stress and your passion for it. The knowledge is incredible. What space are you going into? Sometimes we feel as if we're a jack of all trades. And the fact of the matter is that when you first get into business, you really need to focus. Secondly, they talk about the need. I was doing a show on male perspective, the male perspective show. And while I was doing the male perspective show, I just kept on spitting out stats. I'm spitting them out. They're like, well, 80% this and 20% that. I don't know the exact thing, but if you go back and watch the male perspective show, it probably was like show number 2 or 3. Will was like, how do you know all this stuff? And I said, I know it because it's my business to know it. Because I can spend, when we're talking about home ownership, I can spend 80% on 20% of people who aren't going to buy. So I can stay at the 20% pool, 20% of a demographic that is going to buy. Or I can spend the majority, 80% of my time with the 80% that is going to buy. That's going to increase the probability of me having a successful business. So me being in real estate, lifestyle, specifically when we're talking about residential real estate, it's your business. It's my business to know the demographics. Marriages, divorce rates, children, single parent households, all these different demographics, so that when I'm targeting a certain audience, I'm targeting an audience who are more likely to buy. That's the business I'm in. Now, don't get me wrong, I will educate populations that need educating, but I'm not going to spend my time with them. A lot of realtors do. A lot of realtors, especially when they first get in the game, they start to first-time home buyers. Do you know how much time that takes? Issues, problems. You want to, so anyway, so we talk about the need. Definitely you need to talk about the need. Is this needed? And there's a person, her name is A Conundrum. You got to follow her. Probably one of the thought leaders in regards to into business, as far as I'm concerned. She gives a lot of information for free. And she talks about this same thing. We have an ideal. The reason why a lot of Black businesses fail is because a lot of the things that we sell aren't needed. They're not needed. So when we're in times like we are in now with how inflation is, etc., what's the first things to go are things that aren't needed. When groceries are higher, when gas is higher, when 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 all that's going on. So remember that. And then of course we got the risk factor. Here's what I say about the risk. What is your tolerance? That's going to kind of determine what kind of nest egg you need to keep. Do you need a year of your mind space being free, of not having to pay a bill? Some people don't. Some people need 30 days. They say, listen, God is going to find a way, or I'm going to find a way. I'm going to get very resourceful. But some people, for your peace of mind, and that's when you need to know you. So definitely think about those different things. Now let's get real quick. I know brother's looking for the link. I can't find. Let me see if I can.
Just text it to me.
Okay. Let's talk about the brother. And when the brother told me how much he was charging for a CPR class, and this was after he had already spent years in the business, and I remember the setting, but I don't really remember the setting. If I sat back long enough, I'd figure it out. And I said, and he told me he was charging, and like $50 to $65 for a card at the time, I believe, brother. And I said, wait a minute.
And I was more expensive than other people. I was more expensive than many of the other firefighters that taught classes. And that was the crazy part. Like, I'm thinking, like, I'm more expensive than everybody else. And this man is telling me I need to know my value. I need to know what I'm worth. Like, what? You don't know. You don't know. Have you ever been in a business, y'all, and you just like, they don't know me?
What I was talking to the brother about was being an expert and having and being value driven versus commodity driven. A lot of us get it
to that.
That's the A conundrum. She spoke on it. So if you want,
okay, I was looking for that specific link with all those with
the stats.
The stats.
I think it was just in the comments, but I know I hear my echo. But becoming value versus commodity, like, it's easy to get caught up being a commodity real estate broker. It's easy to get caught up being a commodity trinket seller. But if you become the expert in what it is that you do, which the brother was, because he had already been doing it for 10 plus years. So now the type of value that you're bringing is something totally different. So and there's just a 1% shift of thinking what it is. So instead of charging, listen, don't get out of bed for less than $250, $300. Go have that person get a bunch of people to come to the class if that's the case. But more so than that, you need to have an offer specific to your values. So that's kind of what I wanted to get at in regards to some of the things that you were saying, brother.
No, man, that's it. That's it, man. And that's exactly where I was at, where I was thinking about that. I'm selling these classes, y'all, for like $65 or something like that, but I'm traveling to people's house. I'm traveling to their house and I'm taking care of them, their family. I'm taking care of whoever it is, just to make sure that they're okay. And I don't really know all of the stuff that I need to have. So I end up just like shooting myself in the foot. That's what I ended up doing. And I did that for multiple years, thinking that I was making something because I wasn't keeping up with my bottom line. It's kind of like when you think that you've made money because you got a 5% raise, but you don't realize that inflation was really let's just say it's at 3%. You got a 5% raise and you think, oh man, I got an extra $1,000. But really, with inflation being 3%, it was more like you only got an extra $200, and that $200, because the 3, it's like, well, where did that money go? Well, it went into your new gas bill for your car. That's where it went, because the price of fuel is 50 cents more. That's what happened, or it's $1 more, or the price of eggs, is more, or the price of milk is more. It's like you're not going anywhere. You're still stuck. And that's where I was. I was still stuck. I wasn't able to stack any capital, but I'm teaching tons of classes. And so anyway, fast forward, 15 years, 13 years, 15 years later, and Mike decides that he's going to go and become an entrepreneur. And I'm like, that's an awesome thing. Beethoven has already been a successful entrepreneur, already done $500,000 in capital, and he made it happen. And it's like that breaking that glass ceiling is difficult when you don't know. So back to one of the basics, y'all. You think you don't need a coach, you think you don't need a mentor. I don't care if you got to pay for one. If you're going to get into this entrepreneur business, you need to have somebody that can give you some lessons and teach you about the landmines before you hit those landmines. Because believe me, entrepreneurship is filled with landmines. You're basically just like some naked person walking around in a field full of landmines, and there's like 3 mirages, maybe 4 mirages out there, and there's one real life scenario, and they all look exactly alike. You have no idea which one is the real one. You have no idea which choice you make is going to actually get you to your goal. But if you can just cross this landmine field, you're going to get there. That's entrepreneurship. It will be if this was like the Survivor Island, you can only pick one thing to get on that island. I would pick. My one thing would pick the person that had already survived and made it to the opposite side to guide me along the way. I don't want anything else. Nothing else. I don't want any special tools. I don't want a plane. I don't want a boat. I don't want a bomb vest. I don't want nothing else. I just want the guy that has already crossed this line, this landmine field, and made it to the right location. I want them to take me by the hand and just walk me easily over there. That's all I want. That's all I want. Because that's what makes the difference. And Mike told me the story after he met Jim, and I'm like, okay. And then I watch him, and in a couple of years, he's successful. That's it. Didn't take long. Didn't take long at all. And so, that's kind of like what has happened for me. It's just like all of a sudden I got coaching, I got advice, and now things have changed. Things have changed.
It's different when you have that kind of, I'm not going to call it North Star, because we all have to go through our own journey, right? Because here I am, a young Black man in the year 2023 versus Jim, who was young, but 19 in the 1970s and 80s. But the thing is that most businesses and most business period, like there's just certain foundational things. I loved when you mentioned that I don't need a plane, I don't need this new gadget, because we're, as entrepreneurs, we're bombarded. I don't know about you, but in real estate, there's a new widget every day in my email box telling me that you can do 10 listings in 90 days if you just buy this tool. You can, if you just get this other course, you can do this, or this is the new way to get leads is LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook, or it's like whatever it is there's always someone selling something. Threads, it's just the Threads platform was up. That was Instagram. Remember they did like I don't even know if it's still, people are still using this often, but Instagram came up with Threads, which was supposed to compete with Twitter. And within 48 hours, there was a Threads course. How to gain X and X and O on Threads within 48 hours. So there's always a marketer out there that's attempting to sell you something. But if you can find people who have excelled in the business or industry that you're in, and you can get that type of leadership and coaching for people who have already went ahead of you, then I think it's very, very important that you cling on to them. And that's what I did with Jim personally. It was like, oh, whoa, this guy knows this, he's done this, and he's still doing it. Yeah, I want to be a part of what it is that he has. I want to talk quickly about the beliefs, our belief system, and hopefully, we don't put it up here now. I'll put it in later because I just found the Wall Street Journal article that talks about Black businesses. I think I sent it to you in the chat, brother, but my internet is a little spotty on this side when I try to pull it up. This belief system. Now, I grew up in a time when people used to say you don't turn down anything but your collar, which basically meant that if someone had money for you, you took it, no matter where it came from or how it is. You don't turn anything down, however it comes. As I became further and further entrepreneurship, working with different kinds of people, I learned this new term where you had half clients and you had half clients, which is annoying, lame people that you essentially don't want to work with, and you have ELF clients, easy, lucrative, and fun. And it was important for me to figure out, okay, so this client, yes, they can give you money, or these people, this thing can give you money, but it's nothing that I wanted to be a part of. So I think it's also important that you find the tribe of people that want to work with you, and you want to work with them as well. I see you bringing it up now, brother. So this article basically talked about the 80% of Black businesses that fail, and the actual title of the article stated, Black business, even despite the 2020 boom, Black businesses growth stalled by old problems. So I think it's an interesting read if you ever get a chance.
So true, man. But go ahead and continue what you were saying there, brother.
Yeah, so talking about our limited beliefs in ourselves and the undervaluing of ourselves. Most of our employees, they know exactly how much we're worth, and we're often worth. We're worth more, because if we're not worth more to the organization, we're actually worth less to an organization. They're not going to keep you. And there's an actual calculation for most people that you need to be worth at least I think it's between 200% and 400% to the organization, meaning you have to produce at least 200 to 400% for your value to be worth it. And if you're in sales, it's actually even higher than that. In sales, you need to be worth exponentially more in order to be valuable to an organization. So it seems to me as if most everyone understands and knows our value except for ourselves. And that takes something that we need to think about. Like, where does that come from? Where does it come from in the way that we value ourselves? And the way that we value ourselves, if you're an entrepreneur, you sell something, it determines how much you charge at that point. Because they say that you charge based on what your self-worth is. So that's why you can have someone in the same industry. We can do real estate, where you have a real estate agent that charges 4%. And then you have another real estate agent that charges 7%. I've actually seen it go up to 8 or 9% in regards to real estate. So it's like, why can this person who's selling the same thing, most of the paperwork is going to be the same, etc. Why can this person charge 7 to 9%? Average normally commission is between 5 and 6%. But then you have people who are charging 4%. I've seen less than 4%, actually. I've seen people who charge 3% and give 2% to the buyer's agent, and they keep 1% for themselves. So why is it this huge gap? And what it has to do with is how much, what do you value? How much do you value yourself? And then not only that, like, because we run a fine line between arrogance and confidence. How much work and time are you actually putting into it to know what it is that you know? As a real estate agent, what are your top duties? What should you be doing in regards to a real estate transaction? We're talking about negotiating. We're talking be able to read contracts. But above all of that, and I say this to this day, the same thing that you did, brother, in Rivera Beach, it was communication. Are you able to communicate these points succinctly? Are you able to communicate them clearly? And then are you empathetic enough to understand where the other person is coming from? Because oftentimes people don't even know how to communicate what exactly it is that what they mean succinctly and clearly. So as a person that needs to be highly knowledgeable and proficient in communication, like how are you working on these different skills? Because you really need to understand how, and you need to be able to repeat to them. That's empathy, and that's how you start to get paid the quote unquote big bucks. Can I effectively communicate that I understand where someone's coming from? That's the empathy. I understand where you're coming from. I know where you want to go, and I can take you here, based on and show you exactly what you need to be seen. All the information you need to be seen, or you need to know, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense. It's really important too. And like those are some of those things that, as an entrepreneur, I think this is the analogy that you were talking about when we first opened up the show. And it's like an entrepreneur is like this. It's like an individual who's walking in a hallway, and you come to a window and you look out that window and you're like, wow, it's really beautiful out there. And eventually you want to crack that window open and you feel the breeze, smell the wind. You're like, man, I'd really like to go outside. But every single time you just go back to your desk, go back to what you normally do, go back to your old lifestyle. And then finally comes the day where you're like, I'm not just going to crack the window. I'm going to open the door. I'm going to go outside and I'm going to explore. And that's where entrepreneurialism really starts, is when you leave your normal habitation, you leave your normal walk of life, and you begin to explore. The issue with that is that you can get lost in space, right? Because you have no idea where you're going. You have no idea what you're up against. You've never been through that door before. And even though it may be clear as day, it's dark as night, because you have no foresight on where you're headed to. But then steps in a mentor or a coach or somebody who's already gone through this path. And they're not just selling you, one of the tools that you need. I don't know if you guys can hear my dog in the background.
Is he ready to come in?
Yeah. So, but anyway, so you hear that you haven't had that opportunity to bear witness of somebody else doing this. You just know that you like it better outside of the door than you do inside. And you get this boxed up feeling when you're inside, and when you're outside, you feel free. And entrepreneurship is freedom, right? It's freedom from whatever those things are that was boxing you in. It's freedom. I don't care what it is. It could be money. It could be time. It could be just spending more time with your kids, whatever. The problem is that when you go out there and you have no idea where to go, many times we get stuck and we end up repeating the same mistakes over and over again because we don't know what we really should be doing in order to be successful.
Amen.
So when you're talking about being able to speak this thing succinctly, it's like, hey, I could sell CPR. Like I just had a job just recently, and I don't like to do a whole lot of CPR stuff, but I do it. I will still do it, and I there was a conversation, and I was a little bit challenged, and in that challenge, I repeated somewhat of the same words. It's like, listen, I know the value of what I do, of what I teach. I know me. I believe in myself. So when I come into the room, like I can bring my staff in, I can send somebody to the class. But when I enter into the room, I energize it. I had a guy, he complimented me on this last one. He said, I was peeping you. He said, I was watching you. This was a compliment. He said, you came in here, you were quiet. The class has already been going for 2 hours. He said, you were quiet. You put your stuff up. You set your computer up. And then after that, I got up and I started to speak. He said, man, you got a whole lot more energy than what I thought. And like, you're passionate about what you're doing. It was like, because for me, the stage was how I clicked it on. That was it. All I had to do was stand up in front of the people, and that's it. It's game time. I don't need it. That was the snapping of my fingers. That was the clapping of my hands. That was the LeBron James with the powder. And that was it. I stepped on the stage, and that's it. Now, this is my room now. All of you all are mine. The attention is on me because I'm going to deliver the greatest CPR class that you've ever been partaker of in the history of CPR. And even if it isn't, that's what I believe. And that's exactly what I'm going to give you, my belief, because my identity is up here. My belief in what I do is up here. My conviction is up here. My compassion is up here. And you're not going to leave this room thinking that you can't do anything that I've stated. You're going to believe that you can do every single thing that I've said, everything. And when I bring that, all of a sudden he'll like, man, whoa, man. And then before you know, we're all laughing and joking. And anyway, the conversation that I was having with this person was that, my price, what I charge. I'm like, well, hey, this is what it is. I know what I'm worth. And honestly, I still don't feel like I'm even charging that much. Because if I'm charging $500 for a few hours, I think people are still getting away.
Yeah.
Y'all still getting by on me. Because I could easily go up to $10,000 for that CPR class.
Absolutely.
Because what they are getting is going to be life-changing. And what is the value? If I got 10 people in a room and one person saves a life in the next 2 years, what is the value of that one life? What have you just paid me for? Oh, you got away with a $50 class and you saved a life? What was the value of that life? Was it $50? Was it $100? What if it was your mom? What if it was your dad? What if it was your daughter? Would you put that type of price tag on it then? Would you give me a call back up and say, I thank God that you taught me what you taught me, the way that you taught me, because I've been in CPR classes all my life and I've never remembered a thing. But ever since you taught me, I never forgot what you said. And that was one occasion. I've never forgot it, and I've never been afraid to actually move and act. Is that worth 10? Is that worth 10,000? Is that worth 100,000? And that's what the brother, that was the lesson that he gave to me. And because of that, I changed everything. And it was hard. It was hard, y'all.
Oh, yeah.
That. Everybody else is charging $35. They're making $10 per person, and I'm charging $65, and I feel like I'm robbing people. You know what I mean?
But that goes. Let me. I was scrolling up our things, and I want to put this here. Let me put that there. You are worthy.
Yeah.
You're worthy. When you put the time in it, when you gain the experience of it, when you have the passion that this brother just had in it, when you know that when you, just by you walking in the room, things shift and change. Forget CPR. How much, like, what does it cost? What's the value of knowing me when I instill this life into you? Because we're going to teach the same thing that's in this book, but I'm going to bring something else to the table. You might have been in a terrible mood because, hey, I got to do this CPR class because the job say I need it from a job, and the job here, and it expired. I only got 2 days left, etc. But really, my marriage is falling apart, and I can't really sleep at night, and this, that, and the third. And then you meet this brother, and this brother start talking to you and speaking life into you. What is that worth? For you to be able to put a smile on your face after 2-3 weeks of going through what you're going through. For you to have hope instilled into you about something that's going on. Because you met this brother. This is not no run of the mill. Can't we just do this thing online then? No.
Right.
You just do it online. But when you know that, hey, this may or may not happen. But if it does happen, if you are blessed to be in this man's presence while he's teaching this class, I call myself when I'm dealing with my clients, I don't put it out there, but I say I'm the gift that keeps on giving. Because once you become a client of mine, we're locked in. We're having conversations about all kinds of stuff. People are making money way past the transaction, way past the moving into the house and the excited feeling about moving into the house, way past the buyer's remorse where you tell me, oh man, I got to start paying mortgage now. Way past this fixture you got to do in the house. I can call Mike because I want to get Mike's viewpoint on this. What does he think about this? I know Mike has some information. So oftentimes when I'm calling my clients, we're having conversations that don't even involve real estate.
Yes.
We're talking about life. We're talking about business. We're talking about spiritual things.
Yes.
We're talking about lifestyle. We're talking about next steps. We're talking about holding a space because I'm frustrated about such and such. These are the calls that we're having continuously, way past the transit. Yeah, people only buy houses I think it's down to it's about 10 years now. So between 7 and 10 years, that's it. But if you have someone that's always giving and coming from that giving and that place of giving and being able to receive, you gain so much more. Because the information and the net, you spoke about network, that was one of the first things you spoke about, brother. When you gain a net, when you have Joel Simmons in your network, that's a powerful network. You're dealing with a powerful man. And yeah, he teaches CPR. That's something that he's certified in. But it can get a lot deeper than that, just from the empathetic way that he listens and the conversation that he can have.
Say hi to
Jonah, what's going on,
Joe? You on live?
What's going on? You all right?
Yeah.
Brother keeps getting bigger and bigger every time I seen him. I passed him like last year sometime when I was picking up Elijah, and Elijah was talking to him. I said, "Who's that grown man you talking to over there?" He said, "It's Jonah." I said, "Nah, no way." He couldn't have. Shouts out, Jonah. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
All right.
All right, man. Love you.
But
right
we
there.
bring a lot.
That's one of the reasons why I love doing what I do right here, because I can have my home office like this, and my kid can walk in, and I tell this to the whole world. I don't worry about my kid walking in. I tell them to walk in. I don't care who I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm dealing with something personal, I tell them, I say, hold on. Make sure the door's shut because we're dealing with something personal, or if we're dealing with someone's finance. But other than that, I love to be able to run my own thing because I can run it my way, you know? And my kids, my family, they mean so much to me that while I'm doing all of this stuff so that I can be with them, I'm not going to tell them to, nah. My door, it stays unlocked. Come on in here. And that's how I am with all of my business. And I tell them up front, just in case one of them walks in. And I introduce, my kids know more people that I do business with than probably most of the kids that are out there. Go ahead.
It's important for them to see it. It's important for them to see it.
And like they're part of my why system. You know?
Man, but yeah, this is what we talk about. Yeah.
So why am I going to push them away if I'm doing everything I'm doing here so that I can be with him? And then while I'm here, I'm alive. He's here. I push him away so that I can be with him later. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I've already achieved that. Right. No, I'll be with him now, right now. You should have seen it. We went out to we on my last business event trip. Me and Jonah were out there in the helicopter flying. I put a little Instagram out there. Y'all should check it out. Tenacity_foundation. Because that was one a year ago. I got out of the fire department and I stopped and I did this video record of me finding like these, they used to call them lock stones, but they're these little stones that kids draw on, right, Mike? And they put them in different places and you find them and it has a message on them. Well, there was one next to a Black Hawk. And so I took a picture. Right. If y'all go into my Instagram feed and then type in Black Hawk, you'll see it. And I was like, man, I wonder what it would be like to have rode inside of this chopper. And less than a year later, here I am flying in the chopper, me and my boy going over the canyons. And the captain dive bombed us off of the canyon. We were sitting in the front seat, Mike, and he goes over the edge like this. He goes over the edge like this, and instead of going up, he just goes straight down and then pulls it up and goes out. I was like, whoa! Oh boy, thank you, man.
God bless y'all, man. I'll keep my feet on solid ground, but that's an experience for sure. That's an experience for sure. God, I think the time has been well spent, man. I think the time has been well spent, man. We definitely do appreciate you all for checking in each and every Friday. Brother, any last words in regards to the topic?
Man, I just want to say, if anything, you guys that y'all are out there in real estate and you're looking for something, Mike he's got it. Like, he's got that. And like he was talking about having me inside of your contact list. Having Mike inside your contact list will prove to be an invaluable commodity. I mean, that Mike is an asset. He is a living asset. He's the type of person that's always going to be there for you. He's the type of person who's always feeding himself more knowledge, more understanding, and he's very wise. He's the type of person who gives that information to you freely. Just by being on a conversation with them for 2 minutes, you'll learn something. As a matter of fact, you'll learn something even in a text message if you're open to it. He could text 5 words and teach a lesson. And I think that is pretty powerful. So for all y'all out there who are thinking about purchasing a home, maybe you should just call Mike up just so that you can establish that communication. Because if he said that he'll stick with you and help you through the thick and thin, that's exactly what he's going to do. Exactly what he's going to do. But he's got qualifications, so don't be bringing no garbage.
I appreciate it, guys. I think that this has been time well spent, man. And this is not for everyone. This is for the entrepreneurs, people who are thinking about getting an entrepreneurial journey. I think we'll go even deeper into these conversations because, at the same time, there's a whole other non-Instagram looking side. I know we're used to this Instagram world where everything is pretty and the sky is blue, but there's definitely Gary Vaynerchuk calls it, there's clouds and there's dirt. You got to be careful. You got to watch that. So this is awesome, man. I appreciate you all, guys. Remember, each and every Friday you can catch us right here, 6:30. Community Beacon. Like, subscribe, share, engage, and we appreciate you all. And we will see you next week.